Hey, welcome to Full 42. A bunch of geeks doing geek stuff, talking about geek stuff. We have a guest with us today. Welcome, Glenn.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I love being in the lower left corner. It makes me feel special, and I appreciate being here.
But we can move you around. We can put you right there.
Oh no, man! Oh no,
We'll make you in charge. Now you're running the show.
Okay, that worked. Okay, there I am. I'm back.
There you go.
All right.
Yeah, I just want to say welcome, but I have to bug out, unfortunately. I'll leave you in the capable hands of these two. I can pop in if I need to every now and then, but I am working on a Kickstarter. Well, GameFound. Yeah, Kickstarter is kind of the verb, but it's on GameFound, right? Andromeda's Edge, if we haven't talked about it enough, is going to launch 8 a.m. Central, I think it is, tomorrow. So all hands on deck for Cardboard Alchemy. So I'll be working on that.
Good luck with that.
Hi, John.
So I think we got 22,000 followers. So
that's crazy.
Should have a good day, I hope. That'd be insane if we didn't, right?
Catching up to you. I don't know if you've been watching the charcuterie one, but we're up to 262 last time I checked. So be careful. We might overtake.
Nice. I'm going to put the give me the link. I'll put it in the description for people later on so they check that out. Also, I don't know if you're part of the newsletter for Cardboard Alchemy, they put out a contest that if you go and watch 2 episodes ago on here, the one with Luke Laurie, who's the designer of Andromeda's Edge, if you watch that and you comment on there and say 42 somewhere, you'll be in a drawing to win one of Katya's calendars. So just run over there and give us a comment. Any other announcements? I should put that up, shouldn't I? Whenever I'm talking about announcement. Any other announcements? Next week we're going to be playing Andromeda's Edge.
That was one I wanted to mention.
Okay, excellent. With Peter Vaughn. And what was the other one you wanted to mention, Mike?
Well, we're starting technically a new year. So the first year, for those who've been following from the beginning, the first year, hey Dave, the first year was a different tiki mug every episode. The last year, or this past year, was a different Game Used jersey every episode. So this year I'm starting something new. And I'm going to give a prize to someone, the first person to figure out what it is that I'm doing this year.
Ooh. All right. Now everybody has to study what you're doing up to. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do we put in our guest now?
I mean, can.
Wait, are we exempt?
I will only accept one guest, though. So once you put in a guest, it's over. No,
okay,
Dave, I'm
so
not getting
my
a haircut.
guess is that perhaps there is, so where maybe you have troubles or like one of your cubicles there, I think you're going to feature a different game every episode. That's my guess.
That's your guess.
That's my guess.
That's your guess. Okay.
That's my guess.
My guess is you're going to hide something in that fuzzy background that no one's going to be able to see anyway.
I mean, you can, what fuzzy background?
Your whole background's fuzzy.
Oh, fuzzy. Oh, that's your own fault.
My guess is that every week,
because your guess could be wrong, and then you only get one guess.
That's true.
So, Glenn, I don't know if you want to follow suit here and guess, but
oh yeah, well, like lemmings going over a cliff.
Perfect.
That's what I do. I think every week you're going to drink an entire bottle of different hot sauce and see how much you sweat in every episode. And
you nailed it.
Yeah.
Like the show, the hot ones, with the wings.
I locked that in.
Well, we'll figure out by next week who's right. Glenn's got the hot sauce.
Next,
I've got anything in your background.
Katya's got no. You got to be specific. I'm not counting that as a guess. You're being sarcastic, and I'm not counting it.
It said a thing in your background.
Featured. You got to be more specific.
A thing made of matter.
That is not more specific. Hey, Andrew.
Hey, Andrew.
I mean,
I'm not counting that as a guess, so you still have your guess. Katya was specifically saying featuring a different game. Glenn is talking about hot sauce, so you need to be more specific about what's in the background, because obviously it's not going to be off camera, because that wouldn't count. It would have to be something in camera. So be more specific, please. Matt.
Hey, Matt.
All right. Well, I'm gonna leave you now so I can go work on more Andromeda's Edge stuff. Get that all ready. But
Yeah,
I'll
do
be
that.
listening. I'll jump in comments whenever possible. If you need me, I'll pop up. And thanks again for coming, Glenn. If I don't talk to you again, look
I'm
forward
sure
to
I'll
the show.
see you around. Well, it seems like we move in the same circles, man. So that'll be fantastic. I'll see you
Yeah.
around.
Yeah, Chris, I'll
Sure.
talk to you later. But if I don't because you're drooling on your laptop or your desktop later, good luck in the morning. All the best with Andromeda's to you and the team. It's going to knock it out of the park again. So
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much. All right, have a fun show, guys.
See ya.
Thanks.
everybody.
Now I can't find. I should have found the button to leave before doing that.
Now
This
it's
is
I
like
don't want to
my-
leave the studio.
My mom on a phone call is like, "See you. Is this on? Where's the bot?"
Yeah. Well, there
There
we
it
go.
goes.
Now we lost Chris, but it's okay. So, yeah. So, welcome to the show. How about you tell our viewers what your role is in the gaming space? You're a little bit everywhere. You do a little bit of everything. So maybe start with, since we're doing our top 5 roles / flip and write, maybe start with you starting that Facebook group.
Well, okay, I will. Well, I started a Facebook group and it's called Rolling Rights. I think that's the name of it. I started it so long ago. And the way that really started was now backing it up even before that, kind of like the genesis of the whole deal was, many moons ago when I was spending time with my wife. We were either married or just getting married or whatever it was. She was spending a lot of time in front of the computer. Her job is in front of the computer. And I did music for a living. So, I could barely, this is me, like, I just can barely do anything, with single fingers. So I was like, well, you know what? She had a lot of workload. I was like, let's do something face to face,
Mhm.
I said, well, let me go buy a board game or something like this. And so I went and I bought something. I don't know what it was. And we had a great time. And so I was like, okay, cool. Oh man, these board games are expensive. I'm going to go find ones that are like I can just download. So I was like, oh, there's like a whole world of just like one sheet download games and, print plays. And so I was on Facebook and I was kind of like, Arturo and a few of us all kind of like at the same time started this group called Print Play Gaming, and kind of like really another name for that was Rolling Rights, something easy pencil, just do it yourself. And that's how that started. So I've really been on that, a big fan of those, and even the definition of what a rolling right has really like evolved over time from like the 1-page thing, super fast setup for when you're late at night and you don't have a big, footprint, just a die and a pencil and you go. And it's certainly evolved right into these, massive games like what's the new Twilight Inscription, which takes up a table bigger than I have in my house actually, and and what it became. So from that, somehow like along the line, like Dice Tower, I was like, hey, there's a podcast, and I can hear about games I could buy for my wife and my friends. And I think I was in gaming literally for like a week. And he said, hey, you want to be a contributor to the podcast? Write me. I was like, oh, yeah, that sounds cool. So like I'd only been into gaming for like a week. I was like, hey, I'll be on it. I'll talk about whatever I got. And he's like, okay, great. You're on the show. I was like, awesome.
Wow.
Talk about low
That's
standards.
impressive.
When I do things in life, I like standards so low I can trip over them. And so he really helped me find that standard. And so like I was like on the podcast and like talking about whatever. And then like I was having my friends and I said, well, I'm gonna make some videos because my friends don't know how to play these games. They're like big games. And they don't know how to play. And I don't want to explain it. Maybe make a video for them. And so I made this channel called Board Games and Bourbon. And that's because I drink a lot of bourbon. And I was like, that's a good name. And so then we just had that actually took off somehow, And then like, it's really crazy when people start writing you from all over the world. I don't know how they find this thing. And so spending time with my wife turned into Rolling Rights turned into Board Games and Bourbon. And then from there, I started a couple of other channels that, started to do well. And then at some point, I think we were going to have our baby. I was just like, a lot of downtime. Either the baby was coming or the baby arrived, and I was up all night. And I was like, I'm going to make a game just because. Let's see if I can do it. That's kind of like the next phase. You want to do something creative and push yourself. And I was like, I like dice and I like cards. So I'm going to make a game with dice and cards. And I did. And I'll tell you, I don't know, their gaming is so generous with their energy and with their spirit. And so I said, I contacted 2 publishers and I said, hey, I came up with a game. I am not asking you at all to sign this game. I just want you to tell me if the sell sheet I made has the information publishers want to see on it for when I do sell it to them. I will not bug you. I will not be that dude. And they both said, yes, it does. And I will sign it. I was like, this is like getting on the dice tower again. I don't know how this happened. But, and so it got signed. And so it got signed by a company called Daily Magic Games. He puts out a whole series of games called Valeria, and they have a bunch of other titles. So
I have 3 of them. I have 3 of the Valeria games here. I love those games.
Oh, good. Which ones do you have?
I have Villages of Valeria.
I think that was their
Valeria
biggest
Fighting.
Kickstarter ever.
Yeah, and I have what's the other one? I can't see it, but it's 2 of the small boxes.
Oh, okay.
I heard
right
Shadows
on.
is really good.
Yeah. Oh, Shadows is the bomb. Oh, look,
Yeah, I
someone
need that
named
one.
Scott wrote in. Look, I knew that paying him ahead of time would pay off. And he says, learn the rules. And so, so they signed it, and it was a space game called Space Dice. And they kind of rethemed it and put it in their Valeria world. And it is now called Siege of Valeria. And people have been very generous with their reviews of it, which I'm really psyched about, and people are enjoying it. That makes me happy. And then your buddy Mark from Grand Gamers Guild. I don't know how I know Mark. You just kind of rotate in these circles, man. You know everybody. And I was like, hey, I have a roll and write. And he's like, I will sign it and call it Artemis Project. I said, okay, great. So so he put out a game called Artemis First Contact, which actually started life as another game for another company who commissioned it. And there's one more roll and write that's about to come out, but it's kind of they asked for it and it's sitting there and I'm waiting for a response. And so anyway, my story keeps evolving, from just playing it to talking about it to making it. Now, sometimes I help people with their social media and stuff like that. I help people with rule books because I spent so much time reading rule books, and I help them, what's the word for it? Developing a game. I don't know, giving feedback. Let's say that, but anyway, that's where I am. And so I just kind of exist in the ether at the corners, wherever 5 people are, they're the 5 people who know who I am. That's where I am.
But
And I talk about rollers.
But it seems like whatever you start, right off the bat, you have success in. So maybe you should give us some tips.
Oh, that's so nice of you to say. Well, I guess it also is depends on what you call success.
Well, I mean, getting a game
Yeah.
like Siege of Valeria, that's pretty impressive.
It is pretty impressive. Can I tell you what really touched me the most? Okay, so there's a game designer named Shem Phillips,
Mm-hmm.
and he makes Raiders of the
Garfield
North Sea.
games.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so I never knew if it was Garphil or Garp Hill. I didn't know that P and the H were together or not. But he put out a list of his 50 best games ever made, and he put my game on it. And I was like, what? That is silly. I did not understand or deserve that, but I will take it. Thank you. That was all the validation I could ever hope. Whether, anyone ever buys a copy, the fact that the people I respect, that they said something nice about it. Wow. Really touching, really touching. That was the bee's knees right there.
That's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah. So that's my story. and I'm sticking to it.
Well, that's cool. That's very nice. And the group that you started has now grown to like over 3,000 members, I think. So it's
Yeah,
all
like that
people
one.
that are obviously enjoying roll and rights, which have really grown over the past few years in
Yeah,
popularity. So
yeah,
that's
that
pretty
one
cool.
that one is pretty good, and it has like a good distribution of international members in it too. You know, like some of the other ones, like the print and play, I think has over 10, maybe over 15,000. The Euro game group has like at least 5, and the roll and rights doing great too. You know, there's just a lot of unbridled enthusiasm, and something that's really really cool. Like you would talk about like maybe how gaming in general it's really a grassroots, right? Starting from the bottom up with enthusiasts, you know, making their games and getting in Kickstarter and doing their thing. Man, Roll and Write is that to the nines. I mean, literally, you go in there almost every week, if not every day. Someone made a brand new Roll and Write game that they're just offering for people to play. It is just a playground of creativity and of generosity. Go play it. Go download it. It's free. If you want to make a donation, do it. Maybe somebody, you know, paid for an artist, so they're asking for like $5. I mean, so less than your latte. You know what I mean? It is so cool. It is such a wonderful environment. I cannot encourage people enough to check it out and see if that vibe resonates with them. I have a feeling that it will because it's so good natured.
Yeah. We have a
I don't know.
question.
Hmm.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Go ahead, Michael. You want to answer the question that
I
our
would just
viewer
argue that Yahtzee is the OG rolling right, but
I think so. I think there's even another game that came before Yahtzee, and I forget the name of it. And the only reason I know that was because at some point I made like a trivia for you guys, and that was one of my questions. And it's not Yahtzee, but it's something else.
Before Yahtzee, it was called Yacht. That's even older. What's another game you write down scores? Farkle? Maybe you roll dice and you know. But there's a lot of old games. So it's really interesting when you asked about like the best 5 games because there's so many ways like to cut that question, you know. Is it the 5 games I like now because I'm burnt out on the 5 greatest games? You could be the greatest game ever made, and I am sick of you because I played you 100 times.
Yeah, that's fair.
You know, but also, do you want something because, like, you know, like Siege of Valeria, I made because I was exhausted and I didn't want to burn my brain out with the baby. Do I want to play a roll and write that's really fast and quick? Do I want one that's really immersive and engrossing? Do I want something because I'm playing it at bed at night and I just wanted to fit in my thing? You know what's a great one if you just want late at night a little bit of fun? There's a Catan roll and write. Yes, this one is like one of the most hated roll and writes that has ever been made. It is just, you know, excoriated. It is dumped upon. It is set on fire. It is sent in a brown bag and left on people's doorsteps. But Catan, that's a really fun game because you're rolling dice and you're making decisions. You're building your little city. It takes no effort. Another one I have, by the way, over here off camera, behind door number 1, is like tons of like roll and writes just to share that aren't in my top 5. And including another amazing one. That's an older one that I haven't played recently because I think I used up almost all the papers that came with it. The Castles of Burgundy roll and write.
I've actually never played that one.
It is awesome. It is a ton of fun, man. A lot of great decisions in it. Easy to play. Not too many rules, which I really appreciate. And has lots of different paths that you can take to see if you can beat your old score. And that's really the deal. Also, it has a variable time because you roll a die that tells you how many rounds. So it swells and it contracts on you and it can catch you off guard. So you got to be prepared. Yeah. But
so hold on to that pile and we'll do we call them honorable mentions. After we do our top 5, then we go through like, you know, games that barely didn't quite make the list, but that we still like to acknowledge. So save that because perhaps you have stuff in there that will be in our top 5. We don't know.
Okie dokie, I will. Can't wait.
maybe we just go right into our top 5 and start from there, and then we can go through our honorable mentions afterwards. Because I also have a few that I want to share after. So yeah, why don't you start us off with your number 5 top roll/flip and write, because to me they
Moi?
kind of fall in the same category.
Wait, so I have a question.
Yes.
When we do this with every one of our top 5, when thinking about the question and coming up with our list, how did you go about it? Like, you had kind of briefly touched upon it, Glenn, that is it the games you like now? Is it games overall? Is it how did you look at it?
Okay. Well, Michael, I'm glad you asked that.
Perfect.
So I didn't really know. It went more on a gut feeling, because I will tell you, there was actually a defining moment in Roll and Rights where it kind of traversed the line, where it was just the small box game, but then a game called Steamrollers came out. And that was the first one that actually had like a bunch of components, and actually raised a lot of, ruffled a lot of feathers in the community, because we were like, oh, it's too big. It's not really a roll and write. There's all these extra components. What is it? Just a roll and write name? They're still charging like $30, $40 for it, And at that time, everyone's used to paying like $10, $15, whatever. I make $12 for the Catan one, right? So it was totally like really busted open the door, and a lot of games like that came down the line. Now, with that being said, modern incarnation Glenn has I've moved on, like all of humanity, I've evolved in increments. So what I enjoy now, I would say in my pile, spoiler alert for the people on the edge of their seat waiting for my top 5, 3 of them are more like Euro games, and 2 of them are just a ricocheting pinball machine good time that you don't have to think about, just enjoy what happens. And so my defining characteristic of what my top 5 was to simply say to myself right now, if I had to play a game without judgment of why, like right now, what would it be? And I actually put out a video not too long ago, and these are the 5 I discussed, and I stand by it. They're going to be really fun. They're just things that do it for me in 2023.
Okay. All
That's
right.
it.
I
right,
went with, for me, it's mostly, it almost sounded like you were going the same direction as me, but then you veered off. So my direction was that if I had to pick 5 roll and writes right now that basically were to remain the only 5 roll and writes I get to play for the rest of my life, which 5 would I pick? And those are the ones that I chose. So it's the ones that I get the least fatigued from, that basically I'm always willing to play a game of it. So that's how and there is a variation of crunchiness in them. So there are some that are simpler than others, because it gives me that range of, those are the 5s that I could live with and not have any other roll and writes, and I would be happy with just those 5. Yeah. What about you?
Same thing. Ones that I wouldn't get sick of, ones that are easy to teach.
And the ones that complement a bottle of hot sauce.
Yes, that's exactly what I did. You got it. You nailed it. All right, Glenn, start us off. You're number 5. Also, I don't do them in order, so you don't have to do yours in order either.
Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't say I necessarily have an order, but they are the 5. So the first one I'll start with is by Eagle Games, and it is
Like me, Steven.
Baseball Highlights, the dice game. Now, there actually is a football version of this too. And this game, I'm like in my 40s, right? And so like I used to like as a kid, they would have like these little like electronic, like I didn't actually have like a Nintendo or whatever the things that like fancy kids had, but I had like the little small thing you would press buttons on, and you would like ricochet and hit a ball, and it would go deep, 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 like that. So this game feels just like that. You're rolling dice, you're making decisions on, am I trying to go for a bunt? Am I trying to go for first base? What am I trying to do? I'm playing defense, offense. There's a lot of options in it. And the football version of this has even more options, because you can go for passes or short plays. You don't, in baseball version, you have to go for the home run. That's all you're going to get. But in the football version, you can decide, it's a long shot. I'm going to go for a field goal. And it actually has like a bunch of scoring opportunities that you can decide. It plays out differently all the time. This is one of the rare games I've actually played online. Now, that requires probably good equipment and more than my my mind can handle at this moment. But that's what I did. This is one of the few ones I actually played with other people, and it was a blast. It was so easy to play, intuitive. It was the experience was just ebullient. I just had so much joy playing it. I would play it whenever anyone wants. I think I could show it to anybody and they could pick it up right away and we could dive in. One, because you're bringing the information on how to play baseball or football to it. I mean, you don't have to know like the ins and outs of how to play. Just have some, periphery idea of what's going on. And then the whole game unfolds on itself. So that's my number 5 right there, the highlight series by Mike Fitzgerald, I believe.
Mike Fitzgerald. He did the base game, the baseball game too.
Yep.
Awesome
Very
dude.
nice.
If you ever get a chance to talk to him, he's fantastic.
Very nice. I think the baseball one would appeal to me more than the football themed one. But yeah, that sounds fun. I mean, I grew up playing the baseball game on Nintendo, so yeah, I could totally see myself playing that.
Right on.
All right, Michael, what about you?
No, go around that way.
Okay. I think I'm gonna go with. I think I'm gonna go with the Welcome to. So,
Safe.
Welcome to. I mean, I only played the base, and I'm sure the other ones are all fun, but I don't know what what the variations are. Basically, like what they've added or what's different. So I think that's why I haven't ventured into the other themed Welcome to. I just have
the
basic
space
one.
version. And stuff
Yeah,
like
I'm still playing just the original one, but I really like the decision making with the having the numbers in order, like how you can't, basically backtrack on the numbers and separating your fence, putting your fences in the right place, maximizing your pools and stuff like that. Like I like the option of choosing from those 3 decks of cards, basically whatever suits you best. So,
right.
Yeah, I think that one is easy to teach. It's very relatable in a way. It's a setting that everybody understands, a neighborhood. Like it's something that I found was, very approachable and it's super fun.
That is one of the games that I saw broken out the most at tabletop days. And along that line with the flip and right, another one that always hit the mark was Silver and Gold. If you ever played that one, that was a beast of a game. One. And I saw a question. Someone said, "Is there a hockey one?" No, but that would be amazing. And I used to love playing Blades of Steel on the Nintendo. Damn, man, I would do that all day. Anyway,
I think that 3 of us would be on board with a hockey themed roll and write because we're all hockey fans here. So.
Oh yeah,
Chris is not, but Chris isn't here right now, so we could actually talk about
good
hockey.
riddance.
But
yeah.
Soon he's probably gonna swear in the comments because I said that. But anyways, that would be really fun to have a hockey themed roll and write. I would totally play that.
Totally. Note to self.
All
right. So I'm gonna start off by saying there's now 2 things on my list I'm not going to talk about. One is Mission Control. It's just because it's close. Like there's a few things on the show I don't talk about. Chris's game, my game, things that are close to us that we're directly involved in. But when it comes to roll and write, and Corey, I think Donnie's in the chat too. Mission Control is a roll and write, and it's from the company, and it's got to be my favorite, but I can't really put it on my list because I've helped develop it and all the things that go along with it. I might have to bounce in a second. And the other thing you've already mentioned, Silver and Gold. It's one of my favorites. I talk about it on the show quite often. But yeah, it's easy to teach. It's got that fun factor. 4 rounds real quick. I will start off with my number 5 as with a game that was mentioned in the chat already, Corinth.
Corinth, that was
the roll and write version of, I think it's pronounced Yaspelon or however you pronounce it. But the thing that makes it's kind of a set collection roll and write game. But what makes it fun is the way that the dice system works, where you roll them out and you put the highest one on the top, the lowest one on the bottom, and you fill them in. And you have the ability to spend coins to get yellow dice that only you can use on your roll. The way that game works with that mechanism is something I hadn't, other than the board game, is something I hadn't seen in other roll and write games. It's super easy to teach. It's not a hard game to ask people to understand so you can get it going really quickly. But the mechanism in it and the strategy of how to fill things in, how to do the maze with the person, like it offers a hell of a lot for roll and write games.
That wandering person.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
that's too cool for school.
Yeah.
What a
Awesome.
great idea.
Hey, Chad.
Hey, Chad.
Chad.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
so
had that one on
Corinth-
my list too. Actually, it's a great
Corinth is
game.
great.
Chad
it
was
was-
just on my channel yesterday or something.
It was mentioned in the chat. I didn't want to wait on it too long. So, and I'll
He's-
cross Silver and Golov.
He's probably following you, Glenn.
Yeah. Well, is that who's outside my window?
Probably.
He's behind you in that window, just like watching the
Like,
show.
eating a slice of bacon from his pocket.
Okay, so your fourth one. would
I'm
be-
gonna
All right.
I'm gonna get a refill and go get the little guy. I'll be right back.
Hey, right on.
Yeah.
I need my
If
glasses.
he's not back on time, we'll continue, and then he can just fill in with his list after. Because
Right on. And by the way, that mission control looks real wild, man. I just pulled it up on a BGG, man. I'm gonna have to.
yeah.
investigate
So
what that's
if
all
for
about.
those that haven't, for those that aren't familiar with the game, so it's on pre-orders. But basically, it is a asymmetrical timed roll and write. Basically, you are it's a polyomino game. So every person has a different role, and you are basically in space, and you're trying to save the Aethernaut from running out of oxygen after an explosion in the shuttle. So 3 people have the roles of providing pieces to the Aethernaut to try and save themselves. So basically, everybody's got a different puzzle to complete, and so yeah, it's a roll and write. So the Aethernaut is the one rolling the dice, telling what numbers are on the dice, and then people have to sort of agree as to what number they are going to use and what number they leave the Aethernaut to use. And so everyone's doing different things on their puzzle, and then eventually unlocking things and unlocking pieces for the Aethernaut. And he's trying to physically make connections to get like the tubing to flow and the valves to flow and the oxygen to, to save
Oh,
himself.
very
So,
cool.
and it plays in 20 minutes. So it's like super fast. You feel the pressure as you're playing, and typically you finish a game and then you want to swap roles because it's like, I want to try that puzzle now, or I want to be the Aethernaut, or it's very intense. It's super, super fun.
Very cool. And I'll give you a little tangent here, a little etymology of the word polyomino. Now, when I was like, that word used to drive me crazy. Now, I'll tell you why. I understand, like I said many times, I'm this far from a caveman. So I need to look up etymologies constantly to even understand what I'm talking about. So the word domino, right? Polyomino, you think mean like whatever. But do you know where that word comes from? It comes from the black and white, the dominus of a nun's habit, of a traditional habit, the black and white of a nun. That's how it got its name.
Oh,
so when
interesting.
so when you say polyomino, you're really talking about multiple nuns. So, there you go. There's a little FYI.
Yeah, it doesn't quite translate to the game pieces as much.
Yeah,
I just used to call them Tetris pieces.
Yes.
And then in the gaming space, it became they're polyominoes.
I know. Let's
think
create our
because
own
they added-
word.
It's only because they added, I think, a few different shapes, and then it was no longer the exact Tetris shapes. So
Right.
people start calling it. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It basically, it became like the polyominoes, and to me, it was like, no, they're just Tetris pieces.
Hey, little buddy. Yeah, I don't even get the name right on half the things. Like when I do my reviews, I'm like, and then you move the doodads, and then the guy. Hey, what's up, little man? Well, how lucky, how wonderful. I love seeing the youngsters. What a beautiful experience, man. Let me tell you, having my daughter, who's now 2, man, what a joyous, tiring and joyous experience it is. Yeah. Well, I'll try to keep my voice down. I don't want to rattle any.
Oh, he's fine.
Okay, right on.
He seems pretty chill.
Yeah, he's super chill. He's fine. He just
All
didn't
right.
want
So
to be-
yes, lead us into your number 4.
Me? Well, okay. So I said
You haven't done
before.
your number 4 yet?
No, we started talking about mission control. So
Yeah, and etymologies.
yes.
Gotcha. Okay.
We got
'Cause, you
sidetracked.
know,
It's
the
solid.
party never stops when you talk about etymologies.
That's the party starter. That's for sure.
So okay, so okay, so I said the next game was another fun, ricocheting game, man. And I'll tell you this one right here. This one is by WizKids. It is Super Skill Pinball.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, I played that.
So I love pinball. I live pinball so much that I used to drive an hour and a half away to play this one place that still had pinball machines, and I got my name on the marquee of all those machines. And I got married in Vegas. I got married in Vegas, number one, because I wanted Elvis at my wedding, and two, because I had my bachelor party at the Pinball Hall of Fame. I love pinballs. And so this was right in my alley. I couldn't believe how much the spirit of pinball lives in this game. And it's bouncing around and you have fun choices. It's lighthearted. You do the special moves. If this only had one drawback, I will say that if you are a beast player, you can really make it go on a super long time. That's what I'll say about it. But it comes with a bunch of different tables. You have to learn the specifics of each table. But when you do, just figuring out how you're going to do it and where you want it to go and just naturally what's going to occur, boy, I had a great time with this. Now, this is best solo. You can play it multiplayer, but, it's kind of like everyone sitting next to each other doing their own thing and you compare scores. But it's such a great time. It's such a great time. And it looks so good. And I would say I don't even know other games that really touch on what this does and the thematic notes, how it picks up old machines that I love. It even has a little silver ball that bounces around. Total joy of a time there.
I
Super
agree.
Skill Pinball.
The theme definitely shines through on this one, and
Oh,
I have the
yeah.
exact same drawback to mention is the time, because I played it with it was 3 or 4 of us, and I remember there were a couple players that kept going, and I was done.
Yes.
Like I had been done for a while, and they're still going, and it's like, man, yeah, this does drag a little bit, but it is super fun.
Yeah.
I did forget, however, to score a bunch of points. I forget which portion of it was that I kept forgetting to score, but aside from that, the playing experience itself is really
It has a lot of good merits, but it's definitely a solo game. That's the other consideration. What's good for new players? What's good for a group of players? What's good by yourself? Really, the genesis of me starting the Roll and Write group was games I could play by myself, because, I don't live near people, especially with the baby, man. Are you kidding me? Getting out of the house, So, yeah. So anyway, sorry. That's my number 4.
That's your number 4. Okay.
Yeah, 4.
They have 2 other versions of that game now too, right?
Yeah, I saw there was like a Star Trek maybe.
And holiday themes, so the Christmas Vacation and Home Alone boards and stuff.
Oh, very cool.
Fun.
Yeah, what Andrew was talking about, we played it at Gathering of Friends, and it definitely overstays its welcome. And I believe, Katya, you were playing Gutenberg?
Yeah, we played Gutenberg in the same amount of time that they played that game.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which, when you look at the kind of game that it is, it's definitely on the longer side. But yeah. So my number 4 is one that, so the first time I played it, I thought, it's okay. And then I played it again and I was like, okay, no, this is fun. And I would play it again and again now. So it's Super Mega Lucky Box. Have you played it?
I got to look that one up too.
Okay, so it's like super, super simple. Basically, everybody has a little stack of cards that they have in front of them, and it's a grid of numbers. I think it's 1 to 9, and the distribution is different from card to card.
Oh, very cool. And it looks just like Schoolhouse Rock.
I don't know what that is, but sure.
It was an old TV show from the 70s.
Yeah, it's got that aesthetic, that kind of font and color and everything.
Oh, got you. So basically, there's a deck of cards that you flip to see what number is going to be used by everybody. and then people are just crossing it off on their card, almost like bingo style, but you decide where you're crossing it off, and you're trying to unlock stuff on the rows and columns, and you're gathering little moons depending on if you unlocked your moons, and like whoever gets the majority of that scores points. But it's super simple in how it plays. But you're able to sometimes get those little combos that, it's like, oh, I unlocked an extra 8 and now I can put that 8 here and it gives me this. And it's like, so when those moments happen, that's exciting. And that's why I like the game.
I love those kind of discovery moments.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, right on. Okay, cool.
We were talking about Castles of Burgundy recently. And I said, that's one of the things in the game that I find the most exciting is when you get those like massive turns where you're able to like place a tile that will allow you to do this and will allow you to do that in return. And then you can also spend your nuggets and go and get this. And then it's like your turn ends up being so satisfying. So whenever you have a game that has those kind of combos.
You don't have to convince me. Any game that has me saying, I can't wait to spend my nuggets, I'm just like...
I don't even know if that's
I'm
what they're
there.
called in the game, but I've always called them nuggets because they look
McNuggets.
like a little silver instead of gold. It's like a little silver
Yeah,
nugget.
totally. I dig it. That's what I want, man. I just want some fried gold in my game.
But yeah, so that is my number 4.
Yeah. He agrees. It's a good one.
Yeah, I agree. He probably loves the color on the box.
Probably.
He likes nuggets.
Definitely likes nuggets. Had nuggets for dinner, actually. All right, where am I going?
He's sweating.
I'm gonna go to a flipping right. I think I might alternate. So I did a rolling right, Corinth. I'm gonna go to a flipping right, and my favorite in the bunch is Trails of Tucana.
Oh, is that one we played at the gathering?
Yes.
Were you drawing? I like that. I couldn't remember the name of it.
Look how cool you all are playing at Gathering of Friends. I am I'm like Chad outside the window, with, just like looking with my bacon, wishing I had some nuggets. Well, someday.
But it's, go on, explain what the game's about.
So it's a flip and right. The cards you flip have 2 hexes on them with the different terrain. So it could have mountain and plains or grass and whatever. And when you flip it, everyone on their board has to draw a line from adjacent hexes of that terrain type. And your objective is to try and connect these different artifacts to the different villages. There's public objectives trying to connect the different villages with an entire line from like A to A, B to B, whatever it is. It's just a really fun puzzler. Everyone's playing the same board, the same layout, and then everyone's using the same cards, kind of like Silver and Gold, where everyone's taking the same polyomino and putting it on the map. Just a flip and right. And then all you're doing is drawing a line from between adjacent hexes of the terrain type that's on the card. So it's not very complicated. You're going to draw a line from and they need to be adjacent, and then you can draw them anywhere on your map, but you're trying to connect the trails to get from village to village, trying to get the different kinds of artifacts to the villages. And then throughout the rounds, the more you get in round 1, the more they'll pay off by round 3, because you'll score them every round. So if I can get the dragon to a village, both dragons to the villages in round 1, not only do I get the points during scoring of round 1, I'll also get those points during round 2 and round 3. So it benefits you to get some stuff early. Super great game.
Well, I wrote it down this time so I don't forget it.
When I think of the polyomino rolling rates, I think there was another one called Copenhagen. And there was like a stacking element to it where you score based on something, and I wonder if it's similar.
I have the actual game of that, and you're stacking your polyominoes to the top of your building. Basically, you're trying to get like full rows because it gives you more points or something like that. But it has the original game has almost like a Ticket to Ride feel, where you're collecting cards from the setup in the middle to try and get enough to buy a shape with that amount of squares. So I've never played the roll and write though. That'd be fun.
Yeah, I dug it. My man, Benny Sperling sent it to me. Benny Sperling is like a roll and write savant. He is, and there is no hyperbole here. This guy creates a new game maybe once a week, and they're roll and writes, and he puts them out, and they all have something really interesting in each one that I would never have thought of, So if you're into roll and writes and I think he sells them for like $3, $5, $4, something like that. Benny Sperling, look him up, check out his games. There's something unique in everything he makes. Yeah.
Good to know.
I'm writing it down.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. All right, Glenn, we are on your number 3.
All right. Well, Chad, I'm glad you're here. Because I think you have something to do with this. Get away from my window. Is now Matt Riddle and Ben. They made years ago a card game I enjoyed called Fleet, and then they made Fleet, the dice game, which was better than Fleet, the card game. It took up less space. You still got that feel. It actually combined old school and new school roll and writes in that it was very small footprint, but it had the complexity of a Euro game going on. And it had one of these things where you check off this box, it triggers this over here. You trigger this over here. Now that can compound to do something over in this other area. And so there was all these little vines and tentacles leading from one decision that would play out if you planned it the right way in really, really fruitful, delightful ways. Now, that was Fleet the Dice game. But did they stop there? No, they did not, Katya. They continued developing, and they came up with Three Sisters. Now, you might notice this is still shrink wrap.
Yeah, it's still sealed. What the hell?
I have like 3 or 4 copies, including they sent it to me before it even came out. So, and then like even on top of that, another copy arrived. So, it's funny. I have so many. I could do Jenga just with Three Sister
with
box.
Three Sisters. I have a box here too.
But this is an even further evolution because now this has a rondel aspect to it where you roll through, and now how this plays out and what resources or actions this provides influences what you're going to do, and you're hoping it's going to pay off, and you're plotting. There's a lot more plotting and looking down the road. So you're not only involved now rolling die, seeing what happens. Now there's this short-term and long-term view that you need to have. You're engaged through the entire experience. So top 3 favorite ones, Three Sisters.
That works. 3 and 3.
Great game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very good. So then I'm going to piggyback off that and talk a little bit more about Fleet the Dice game because that was on my list.
Oh, cool.
Fleet the Dice game. The first time I played it, I was like, whoa. First of all, yeah, it was the first time I played a roll and write that had the 2 sheets. And there were so many boxes to tick off. And I think the first game took me an hour, and I was only playing with one other person. And I never thought that I would like the theme of fishing boats, but I heard such good things about the game that I hunted it down. And Randall from Eagle Griffin might actually remember, I went to their booth and asked for the game to see if they had it. They were sold out. And then at some point I went back to the booth and he said, Katya, he's like, I think we have a copy underneath here. It's meant for a reviewer, but here. So they basically sold me a copy that was set aside for somebody else because I was so disappointed that they ran out of the game. And so I brought it home and I played it, and I was so impressed with the choices that you get. And like Three Sisters, you cannot achieve everything in the game. Like
Right.
You just have to make your peace with the fact that you can't go for everything.
Right.
But I really liked the decision making of which boats you're trying to maximize, and the unlocking the stars, basically like the gold
Right.
and getting those bonus again, I love whenever you get bonus stuff to do
I,
things.
I,
So
I
to
think
me,
the
that
hardest part for me in that game was trying to use the crab boat. That was always the hardest thing for me. Like the thing that's on the second page. And yes, Chad, you're right about it starting the heavier genre. And I got to try out Motor City.
Yeah, I have never played Motor City, but yeah, it's one of those where it's a good game. Like Fleet for me was a good one where it's like Sunday morning with coffee, because I have 2 coffees. Like that's a good one to play because it does take a while. So but yeah, I love that game. I really do. And again, like I would have never thought that a fishing boat wharf type theme would do it for me, but
Right.
yeah, it's great.
And another great thing about that too, just to interject, and I'm sorry if I interject too much,
No.
but it's the kind of game that you get better at the more you play it. And I love that feeling of growing through playing it. And like it becomes more rewarding. Some games are great because let's just say superficial for lack of a better word, but I can see it. I know what I want to do. We're all in it right now, but you plateaued, and that's cool.
Right.
There's a place for that. But that Fleet was a game that, the more experience you have, you're like, okay, I'm starting to, and you know what? Now this time I'm going to try this other angle. I'm going to invest in building the structures instead of, and you can, slice and dice it a whole bunch of different ways. Such a great game. And truly, Three Sisters is the extension of that.
Yeah.
And yeah, Motor City is a brand new one. I think it's just getting delivered now to backers. I need to try that game sometime.
Yeah, when I played Three Sisters, I could see the fleet behind it. Like I could see some similarities. So I don't know if that's why, like the first time I played, I ended up winning. It's because I had so much experience with Fleet, and I kind of knew what I was doing.
Right. Yeah, you bring that institutional knowledge to it, and that makes it even more fun because it's so much easier to dive right into.
Yeah, but it was definitely another one where it's like, yeah, you can't do everything, and you have to be okay with that.
Yeah,
it's great.
A lot of uncompleted work.
Yeah. All right, Michael and Luca, you're number 3.
All right, I have been instructed to talk about this next game.
Oh,
by Luca.
I was gonna go roll and right, flip and right, roll and right, but he told me I'm not allowed to do a roll and right. I have to double up with a flip and right because it goes along with what you were saying about not being able to do everything in the game.
Okay.
Three Sisters, when I played it, I loved it, and I felt that. Yeah, you can't do everything, and you got to really quickly learn, like, you're not going to be able to do everything in this game, so pick and choose as you go and unlock your stuff and do your stuff. And then I played Hadrian's Wall, and holy shit, you quickly have to abandon the fact that you want to do everything in the game because you just can't. And trying to do it is actually a waste of your time because you have to pick a path and go for it. You can lateral when the time comes, but man, it teaches you really quickly that you're not going to be able to cross off everything on your 2 sheets because it's got the 2 sheets. The game it's a little off-putting when you look at it because it's got a lot. It's a $60 price tag for a roll and right or flip and right, and it's the box. Although it's not a big box, is heavy as hell. But man, it punches so hard. It's so good. It's so balanced. Right? You want to talk about it? No. Yeah, it's got that it takes Three Sisters and just amplifies it, right? That feeling of, but I really want to do this and you just can't. And it's got a little bit of player interaction. It's not necessarily a flip and right solitaire where you are using other people's stuff and giving them a benefit for it, which I like. But man, it's solid. It fires.
Good.
Can I have my pen? Oh, thank you.
All right, Glenn, back to you.
Comes back so quickly.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next one, now we're moving more into the modern day, the Euro kind of experience. This is a game, and that's all I have to say about it. It's a game. This is a game that is a roll and write version of a bigger game. Okay.
Oh.
Oh, but it's better than the original. Smaller footprint, plays more swiftly, and is just as thrilling. What's your guess? I think you might have.
Are you gonna say Rajas?
No, I'm not. But that would have been fun too. I like that one. I'm going with Dinosaur Island Roar and Write.
Oh,
So this is a really cool game where, you know, I'm going to compare it to another game. Years ago, Alley Cat put out some type of like Jurassic Park game where you're building pins for dinosaurs, and they had, you know, an aviary in the ground and the aquatic. It was really, really good.
Dino World.
But maybe it was called Dino World, is what it was.
A roll and right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And that was really, really cool. That had a lot of good stuff going on. This one has a lot of that same feel, but it has a second phase in it. Now, what you're doing in this game is you have dice that you're going to use, a general pull of dice, and you're going to select these dice. By the way, that's a great thing from Fleet. And I think Three Sisters, where you have the die, you pick your die, and whatever's left over is a share die. Great mechanism. So this has one where you're selecting your die, and you're deciding what track you want to move up. Do I want to improve my workers, or do I want to get dinosaurs, or improve my safety, or whatever it might be? All the different elements that are all competing against each other. But the second phase of it is you then take the die you took, and you're going to place it into a board to activate second actions. And depending on what die you picked on the first one, it's going to influence what occurs on the second one. Because it might say, like, if you, and I'm kind of like pulling this out of my memory, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but if I pulled like a 5 and then I put a 5 down in the slot that says money, I get 5 money. It's something along those lines. And that reoccurrence of the die and how what you pick in the beginning doesn't only affect part 1 of the round, it affects round 2. I thought that was brilliant. Very easy to understand. Doesn't take up a lot of room. Visually stunning. Visually just wonderful to interact with. Tactile. I love holding the bits. It's those cool, ember, sap looking, caught the mosquito in the thing, it just top to bottom, wonderful production. The art is fab. And it gave me the same feeling as Dinosaur Island. To me, actually, Dinosaur Island, the bigger game, the boards were kind of wonky, a little bit garish at times, even though they're looking for an 80s thing. This actually refined it. So yeah, that's my pick. Dinosaur Island, Roar and Write.
very nice. I've never played it, but that sounds interesting to me. So
this is not a roll and write, but to go off what you just said about Dinosaur Island, did you ever play the Duelosaur Island, the 2-player version?
I haven't.
It does everything you want Dinosaur Island to do at a 2-player level, scratches all the itches, got the really cool dice, has the tracks with the DNA and everything.
Oh, great.
Way less setup, right? Dinosaur Island's just got a huge footprint.
Right.
Dinosaur is it's great.
Right on. And there's that beautiful balance of all those elements, foot size, how many components, that really all culminate in what your end view of that experience was and how fun it was. Yeah. So that's cool. I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah, it's a good one.
awesome. Well, my number 2, and I've mentioned it before, but it doesn't matter because it's that good. So mine is Cartographers. And I did play, is it Heroes? Cartographers Heroes, the second.
We could be heroes.
I did play like the second one, but I'm just gonna label it as Cartographers because it's the same kind of game and it's just different expansion. But so for those that don't know the game, it's a flip and write. You have your map and you're basically going through 4 seasons, and you will get a scoring pattern for each color of like shapes that you're going to be drawing. So you're drawing like rivers and fields, you're drawing trees, you're drawing houses, or you're drawing, there's one more that I'm missing. Oh, I think the other one is based on it's based on like shapes or something, like either columns or rows or like things on the edges. So basically you have those scoring criteria, and from round to round, you're going to score 2 out of the 4 cards. And basically you're flipping terrain. So you're flipping your polyomino shape that you're going to be filling in. but you decide where you place it on your map. There's mountains that once you have them encircled, you get coins that also earns you points. And the best part of the game, I think, is the goblins. The goblin cards that show up are the monsters, and that's when you swap sheet and you get to mess with your opponent. And I'm not a big take that person in games, but that to me was brilliant. And I think it's because everyone gets the same level of screwing with each other that I'm okay with it. And almost like the more you play the game, the more you can get strategic with how little open space you leave yourself, because you know that at some point, if one of those cards come up and you're swapping your sheet, the other person can plunk it in the middle of nowhere where there's nothing around it, and then you get like -9 points every round. So like those goblins, having to try and surround them afterwards to negate those minus points, like it was just that whole mechanism I thought was really, really clever.
It was a great way to make a multiplayer solitaire game have interaction.
Yep.
Yeah, agreed.
Absolutely. Yeah, because it's one of those where you're definitely going after your own strategy and your own map and what you're doing. And like I used to kind of hide what I was doing, but you don't even have to. You can see what your opponents are doing, where they're placing their stuff, because as soon as you started a couple pieces, things are going to evolve extremely differently from one map to the other. And yeah, like the expansions add, I think you get like cards that you can basically spend coins to purchase, and then you get to use those abilities to help you out. The other expansions have like different monster shapes. They have different maps, different scoring, so stuff like that. And it's really good.
Yeah, it is. That when I played that game for the first time, I was like, wow, this is like Roll and Write Isle of Skye. You know,
Yeah.
because you have like those cart, you know, and for some of my friends, they aren't into the auction phase, right? In Isle of Skye, where you have to like bid on cards, but the rotating scoring criteria, you know, I was like, oh yeah, that's like, it has to be an influence on this game.
Oh, for sure. Because it definitely, yeah, you feel like you have to decide. So, okay. So I've played the game where like at the beginning, I used to ignore the very first card almost immediately, because I was like, nah, it's barely going to score anything, because, you know, I should start working on the cards that are going to score next round, because those are going to score twice. And I realized that was a mistake. If you ignore that very first scoring one, you are going to lose the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's it's fun to kind of like strategize that way and try to plan, because you know that that card is going to score once more.
Yeah. And you know what, man? Another cool thing upon it, and you know, I wish I still had it. When I moved into my new house, they mislabeled boxes, and instead of bringing them here, they threw them away, and I lost a whole bunch of games.
No.
Yeah, tons of the games went into the dumpster. But there was a great game that I was going to say, another element of cartographers that I love is drawing. It's cool to make a map.
Yes.
Put your water through it. And there was a game called Once Upon a Castle, something like that, which you're drawing a castle. It's like for kids, but there's something so charming about the element of creating your display that I really enjoy about cartographers.
Yeah, and you can really amp it up if you get yourself like colored crayons, because I used to play with just pencil, and then once I got the colored crayons, it was a whole other level. And I've seen people post their maps. So I think obviously some people took it to like a whole other level, where they like very small ink drawings with like the watercolor, or like they went all out. But those maps were gorgeous. Like
mine look like, you know, like drawings you'd find in a cave. You know, like, but,
if it works, it works. Yeah. But yeah, that's definitely one of my top games. Yeah. So Michael, number 2. No, you can't.
The colored pencils definitely help.
100%.
All right, lunatic on my shoulder here. You ready? What are we talking about? What is this? So I'm going to go to a roll and write. And I'm going to go to one that's a little bit older, but I think still holds up and is still fun to play. And as many times as I've played it, I haven't gotten sick of it. And it's called Saint Malo.
Oh, never heard of it.
Older Alea, I believe, game. everybody has their own board. Everyone's rolling and putting stuff on their board based on what comes up. Kind of, I think, Yahtzee style, if I remember, where you can re-roll kind of thing. But then based on what you're putting in your map, there are ways that it scores. So you're putting certain letters that represent certain people in your fort that do certain things. The merchant wants to have as many different people around them as possible, scoring points based on how many different ones are around. The whole while, every round, you're going to get attacked by some stuff. So you're trying to like fortify your cannons to make sure you can take on what's coming at you. So there's a lot of stuff going on.
You have your own heckler.
Right? Yeah, you think it's funny? Yeah? What do you want? You want Batman? Yeah, so St. Malo. I think it might be yeah, St. Malo. Well, with the spelling thing. Malo. I don't know if many people know of it. I mean, it's made by a great company, and it was made, when there weren't 4,000 to 5,000 board games being published every year. But yeah, it's definitely one. I don't think it's hard to find. But yeah, it's one you should look into. It's a great puzzler, has a lot of moving parts, like things you can think about, and a lot of ways to score, like based on what you're putting into. There you go. What you're putting into your fort, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool.
And there's a charm to it too, because it has that. I mean, not through any design, but it looks like an old school game.
Yeah.
And there's just I like that connection to it too. As more time passes, I dig that aesthetic. So yeah, that's a great game.
Yeah, it's got a lot to it. I mean, it can be a little unforgiving with the rolls, right? If you just roll like shit and you're not getting the right thing, but you got to plan ahead and you're putting things.
Earmuffs.
No, he's good.
Oh, okay.
Well, I'll talk about that off camera. The board itself, the way the game plays with the objectives, how the different things scores, you can adjust based on what's rolled. You're never really stuck with certain things, which is kind of cool, right? You can plan for something and it not happen, and that's on you, but you're never really stuck with, I don't know, a bad roll or something. You can always make something work. And I think it's got that forgiving nature to it, although it's a hell of a puzzler. So
never won that game, but you're correct. You can always mitigate your circumstances. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
I like that.
You're screwed because you did something, not because the game did something.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's good. That's good that they include something like that. It's funny because you mentioned the old style artwork, or like what looks like an older game. And I was excited when I had bought Troy's, the dice game. And I'm mentioning it because I'm pretty sure it's not on anybody's number one for a reason. I was excited for that game, but when you play it, there is a very obvious strategy of building your fortresses so that your stuff doesn't get destroyed. And if you don't do that, you're not going to win. Like it got so obvious that after 2 games, I was like, this isn't like, I'm not getting enough like decision making here.
That's the one with the clear die.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
I have that game. I played it once or twice. I don't know if I came up with a strategy, but yeah, I can totally see what you're saying now about that.
Yeah. It wanted to be good. It really did. But it had that flaw. And like for me anyways, I was like, nah, it's too much. Like every time I'm going to want to go get those fortresses up like every time. So
yeah.
But the art style was definitely like that old look. And,
and
I was excited for it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, Twa still does. That game has some funny art in it. Like even the original board game, there's some really like, I know it's supposed to look like an old like medieval manuscript, but like some of the pictures, they're pretty funny. And Twa is a game where every time I play it, I have to reread the rule book because I have no idea what all the symbols mean.
Yeah, there are games like that. It's definitely it's a barrier for me for sure when I have to reread the rule books. But
reading is a barrier for me.
Yeah,
I could, I should learn to read.
Well, you did say you were a music teacher, so
That's it.
Yeah, you read different stuff.
I originally went to school for music education, and then I had a horrible time with my professional trumpet instructor, whose name was Mr. Freeze. If he's watching, I don't give a shit. I didn't like the guy. In the same semester, I had an amazing experience in the English classroom with the idea of everyone's mind being different and being creative and being able to see something differently. So I went from this very rigid trumpet instructor, which I did music my entire life, to this really what really ended up speaking to me, the creative, right? That every mind is different and everyone has something to learn and to teach in the same semester. And I switched over to English education the next year.
Finding yourself. That's awesome. Yeah. Sometimes it takes that experience. When I did music, I was performing music for so long, and it was actually, and I thought that's what you do when you love music, but I actually found teaching it to be such a more rich experience and satisfying, instead of being like in, whatever, Toledo, playing to people who don't know me. I'm sitting in a room with somebody who deeply appreciates what I'm doing. And so, life just kind of ebbs and flows and you find that sweet spot.
Yep. Agreed.
All right. Take us to your number. We're on to number one.
All right. So this one is, Michael mentioned it, Hadrian's Wall. Now, interesting. Now, I'll tell you why. So this game to me really feels like a civilization builder. It is a game. Now, interestingly, yes, this thing is so heavy and all of its paper. I don't think they even turn it into paper. I think they just cut part of a tree and just stuck it in this box. It is just like, but the game actually, even though it's a roll and write, I thought that it was perhaps, because it feels like a huge Euro. There's all these different aspects to society, whether it be culture or government or defense. And you can't just invest your time in any one of these aspects. You have to invest in the arts to create some other opportunity, which might be to improve your political relationships. But political relationships are what's going to get you the money maybe to do your defense, and you need to build a wall in case there. And so there's this intertwining of all the different aspects. You can't just push up one path and hope that's going to happen. You probably can't go up a path all the way you want, up a scale, just keep filling in all your dots to hit certain things. And even if you did, you might not be able to use them. You really have to prop everything up a little bit at a time. And if you do it to a certain degree and unlock something else, the reason I like it too was the design of this game that very much feels like a civilization builder really rang out to me as being a Shem Phillips design, but it's not. And it turns out the designer and Shem just play together locally. So I guess they just have naturally some shared DNA. And it was such a grand experience. And it played so much like, let's say, Paladins or whatever it might be. I just assumed it was a roll and write version to bring down the cost or reduce the box size or something like this. Another thing I love about it, not a big footprint. So thankful. Plays brilliantly solo, just as well as it does. And the multiplayer, I love you, Shem, but there's like, you can borrow something from someone, it's kind of like, is it multiplayer? It's a really solo game, but it was not a big game. In fact, they tried to make it a big time Euro game and it just didn't work. So they kept it as a paper form. And that was the form factor worked best on it. That really surprised me considering how large it feels. And I found it very engrossing. I found that all my decisions matter. The great thing about it too is in so many games, and I don't want to knock it because sometimes it does work, but a lot of times when games try to become asymmetric, where everyone has their own powers, I don't feel like we're playing the same game. I feel like we all have our own circumstances and we're kind of like ships passing in the night. We're playing, there's a central board, but you have your own set of circumstances and I had mine. Are we actually competing? But this game, everyone has the same thing going on. So you're actually competing. And I love that about it. So yeah, the modern me Loves this game because outside of roll and writes, my other love is Euro games. Check out the Euro game group on Facebook. I run that too. And it gives me that feel and maintains that small footprint. Setup, instant. I can't tell you, oh my goodness. Let me tell you, I am so over grand setups. Over it. I am over reading a book that requires me a day to learn it. I just want to open a box and play.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to wait days before I have fun.
Well, and some of the rule books, you read it, and then so for example, like you say, it takes so long to read the rule book. Then you finish it and you're like, yeah, I don't really have time to start the game. So let's play it tomorrow. And then the next day you get it set up and then you're like, I already forgot half the it because it's
Totally.
so complex. Like,
oh yeah.
I'm with you. So, get me in there in like 10 minutes. And
yes.
yep.
And I actually wrote Mr. Phillips a compliment because the rule book was so clear. I had no questions. I didn't need to consult a video. Where are we in gaming? Where even grizzled gamers now need video supplements to understand what you're talking about. But the rule book right out of the gate, easy to understand, played smoothly. Wow, that game. Yeah, I love it. Hadrian's Wall.
Awesome. My number one is way simpler than your number one. Mine is like one of my modern roll and write OG for me. It's Railroad Inc.
Oh,
I will never get tired of that game ever. I love it. And again, it's trains and like it's railroads. I never thought that would be a theme that would get me so excited to play, but it really does. And I'm kicking myself for not backing the last Kickstarter where it had like the giant map that you could have gotten and all of the like the new expansions and stuff. And I didn't, but I really should have because all I have is the blue one. But it still does the trick because it has those like river or lake dice that you can add. But yeah, for those that don't know the game, you basically roll the dice and it gives you either road shapes or railroad shapes, and you're tracing routes on your map and you're trying to get the longest railroad, you're trying to get the longest road, and you're also trying to connect to the exits, as many exits as you can in one system so that it scores more points. And there's also like an area of the map if you fill that, or like the more amount that you fill it gives you more points. So it's again, it's planning, it's adjusting as the dice don't cooperate with you, which is one of the things I like about it. I like games like that where you have to roll with punches, pun intended.
Make the best of what you're given, right?
Yeah, and it's a game that plays fantastic at 6 players. Or you can play it by yourself and just try and beat your own score from time to time. So, to me, that one is a winner. It plays in, 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I love the little box.
Great production quality.
I will never get tired of that game.
There was and it is a beautiful production. I agree with that box and everything. The dice are super cute. Years before that came out, there was a print and play version of it that's probably still free on, and I'm not saying it's by the same person, but it was called 30 Rails. Okay. It was the same concept. It was a grid and you would roll die and you draw your networks. And it even has an element of buying shares. Like if you don't like your die and you don't want to put it in the board, you can buy shares in the different railroads that you're building. So if anyone wants to like dip their toes in that print and play world, check out 30 Rails on BGG. It's probably still there.
I'm going to put that in my notes as well.
Yeah, that's a fun one.
Because I will.
Yeah, you'll see the DNA. You're like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of crossover between the two.
Yeah.
Not nearly as pretty, but.
But it's funny that you mentioned like the print and plays. It seems like we're getting a shift where people are starting to put the print and plays on Kickstarter.
Yeah.
I backed one recently. I have yet to print it, but it looked so beautiful. It was an underwater, like aquatic themed one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I forget the name of it. I have the file on my computer, like it's ready to print. I just haven't gone around to it.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
But yes, and it's one of those where, and there was another one recently that I remember Gonzalo from Thundergriff posted about it because I think it's a friend or it's somebody who, it's somebody who designed one of our soda pop that are coming out. But he designed something like that. It was like a roll and write, put it on Kickstarter, and it's like $3 or $4. And that's the thing, is like you see that on Kickstarter, it's only a couple bucks, and you're like, I don't know how much I'm going to play it, but it's only a couple bucks. And,
Exactly.
and I think a lot of people have that same mentality. It's like, well, yeah, I kind of want the file to this because it looks like it would be really, really good.
Totally. I totally agree with that. And the beautiful thing about it too is, one, you're probably supporting, like, the small creator. And why is it even $3 or $4? Because they probably paid for someone to do the artwork,
But it's a lot of time that you sink into something like that.
Oh,
Even
yeah.
if you don't have the most spectacular artwork, you put a bunch of time designing it, playtesting it. You had it all laid out. Like, even if it's all homemade, a lot of hours go into something like that, and people don't realize that it's like those designers are doing it probably just in their spare time, but that should still be compensated if you want to play
and
it.
It's the story of Picasso. Picasso, there's this famous story about him sitting at a cafe. I think it was in Paris. And this lady came up and said, "Oh, I'm a huge fan of yours. I will pay you whatever you want. Can you draw a bull on this napkin for me?" And he went, and he's like $5,000 or whatever it was, something so astronomical. She was offended that like he would charge as much for $2 worth of stuff. And he's like, "Well, it took me 2 seconds to do because I spent a lifetime arriving at this point." These games that look, or it's like doing any job. If you do it well, it looks effortless. You look at these games, you're like, oh, look how refined or simple or how smooth it is. You don't understand how much refinement it took to reach that point. All the back work, what's the old story about? It took me 10 years to become an overnight sensation, right? It took, all that work leading up to this point, and really, no one's doing this to get rich off of $3,
No, I think it's to cover, the time probably that they spent into
projects of love.
And I just saw here that Chad said they are doing that for Ghosts Love Candy Roll and Fright. And I remember seeing that. And it looks cool.
I played those. They were adorable. Yes, I certainly did. I had a really great time with that.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for stuff like that. It's
great artwork and a lot of fun decisions in there that you don't realize. You're like, you launch into Chad's game and you start filling it out and you're like, okay, this is going pretty. Oh no. What? like 70% through the game, you're like, oh no. Like the house just dropped on you and your legs roll up underneath,
That's awesome. Yeah, it looked good. Oh wait, I think it was okay. So Voyages and Aquamarine. It was Voyages. Aquamarine. I think that's the one I backed. I think was Aquamarine from Postmark Games.
Postmark does awesome stuff.
Yeah, and the graphics, the artwork was great, and then they even
Rory's a great designer.
They provided extra files, I think, and stuff like that. Like when I opened the documents, there was like some extra stuff in there that was pretty cool.
Wonderful.
But so since we're talking about roll and write, so here's something that I thought was really cool, and like full disclaimer. So I do the social media for Thundergriff, so obviously I am in the know of some of their games, and I support what they do. But so their last big Kickstarter was the Tang Garden Seasons. It was an expansion for Tang Garden, and then they decided to come out with this roll and write that you will now be able to combine with Tang Garden. And so it's so it's its own game, but there will be a module that you can like combine them together. Anyways, so backers that I believe backed Tang Garden Season had the option to add that on, but otherwise it will be around like June, August, like Gen Con. It will be available for people.
Okay,
but
I've never even heard of such an idea.
Okay, so it's called Peach Festival, and it is so fun. So it has the same feel as like the Welcome to, where you have to have things in like order, like the numbers cannot jump back. Okay. But basically, yeah, you're rolling resources and you're going to select which die that you want to use to fill in your grid. So I'll actually show, I'm going to share my screen because I do have a few like pictures.
Oh, great.
The
I'd love to
artwork
see
is
it.
amazing. Paolo does such a good job in the artwork for our games. Hold on a second. So I would do, I think it's called present, share screen. Hold on. Bear with me.
This is a world
okay?
exclusive here.
So I know I have to like, hold on a second. So I'm going to go with entire screen. And I'm going to go with, oh, hold on. I think I have to do window. Okay. So I'm going to do this window here. Share. Okay. So hold on.
Did the little man go to bed?
He's
okay. So this is the cover of the game. Do you see it?
I don't.
Do you guys see my screen?
I don't.
But
that could be me.
I'm trying to see here. You know, why is it not? Hold on. Yeah, it's saying I'm sharing a window. Hold on a sec. I feel like every time I go to do this, it doesn't work. It always takes me 2 tries. Bear with me.
But really, the
Bear
picture I have in my head is so amazing that you've done the game justice.
No, but hold on. Really pretty. Do you see it now?
Not on my screen.
Maybe.
Oh, hey, there.
Hold on a sec.
I see it now.
Do you see it?
Yeah.
Sweet. Okay, so yeah, that's the cover right there. It very much has like the same aesthetic as Tang Garden.
Yeah.
And then let me show you the here. This is what the sheet will look like. So you have your resources at the top that you see. Like if you ignore the track on the left, because that's for solo, but basically you have your resources and then you will enter your numbers. So for example, if you rolled like 2 vases, then you would enter a 2 in your grid. So that might not be the best die to start with because you can't backtrack your numbers, right? So you're going to have to like go from 0 to 1 to 2 and then so on and so forth. But then as you go, there are bonuses you can unlock. Like if you see the little equal sign, that means that if both numbers beside those are equal, you'll get yourself 2 peaches. And your peaches kind of work like the stars and the coins in Fleet the Dice game. So it gives you like that bonus action or something extra to do. So there's like some nice little combos to get in this game. And then everybody has scoring objectives as well, which look like this. Like the artwork is absolutely stunning.
Artwork is great. And I cannot appreciate enough that you guys made the actual playing piece of paper so good looking.
Yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous. So I just wanted to mention that one because yeah, it's not
that'll
like,
go on the most checkout list.
It's not, oh, did we lose Michael?
Oh, bye, Michael.
Oh, he may have just needed to put the kid to bed. But yeah, so so that should be available around.
Is this like Survivor? And at the game of the end of the podcast, there's only one of us.
I totally won because I got rid of both other hosts, so I totally won this
I got
one.
my eye on you now.
But yeah, no, it's interesting to see like the growth in roll and writes. Like for me, because they are approachable games, it's always going to be something that I gravitate to because like we said, I don't like to read a rule book that's going to take me 4 hours to get through. And then I'm also going to need to watch a video and like all of that, like my brain just, and I don't know if it's like, as we age, I find it's getting worse. I definitely need the shorter games, the easier rules.
Along those lines, this is my theory. Bear with me. Kind of like the people in my life, maybe my mom, where my threshold for tolerance is there until it's peaked out. And now with certain people, I can have patience for a stranger all day, but certain people, I go from 0 to just get out.
I've seen that. I've seen that in some people in my circle where it's like as they age, they seem grumpier.
The patience is gone. these manuals, they're like that person I'm so fed up of. I'm just like, no, just don't even. It's Sunday night. You're not coming over. We're not doing this. And I had a rule book just recently. I won't name names, but a lot of rule books seem to pit clarity against brevity. So I don't know why they choose to put one fewer pages in a rule book when that's all you had to do to make something make sense. This rule book I read the other day had, for this game, a game with 1,000 cards, had not one explanation of what the icons on the cards meant. Cards were not addressed unless you looked at the caption of one picture. Now, and even at that, you had to infer and deduce from this one caption on this one picture what the rest of the cards meant. And if you bring institutional knowledge of gaming, you're not going to do this if you're new, but if you bring the knowledge of how other games work, you can infer what the rest of this means. But let me tell you, in the middle of game night, when I'm trying to find the rule so we can play the game, my eye is not like, let me read the fine print caption of this picture buried in this section that I don't even want. But that's where it was. It baffles me. It baffles me. Yes. Am I done with those rule books? I am so done with those rule books. And plus, reading, not my forte. But, yeah.
Yeah.
Done with
I
it.
hear
Done.
you.
Yeah.
I
And
hear
the
you.
roll and writes, because you get a roll and write. How big are those rule books? Like a bifold piece of paper.
Yeah, a couple pages typically.
Yeah,
That's
they're
it.
not going to blow your mind apart.
Yeah.
And I know that we're waiting for Michael, or maybe he'll come back. I still have all my honorable mentions.
Yes. Give us your honorable. Yes, absolutely.
All right, now
Tell us what else you suggest.
So I have hordes to choose from, but I'll go through them really, really quickly, and I'll talk about why I thought they're strong contenders. Should someone want to check these out? One that I'm going to mention is by Game Right Games. It's called Bloom. Bloom is a really tiny game. Okay. Beautiful components in it. The dice feel great. They're nice and soft. The board is the entire board that you can play with multiple people or even by yourself. It's just this tiny piece of paper, and it's a garden. It's a garden to different colored flowers, and then they're even subdivided into flower beds. It's a game where you're going to roll dice, and then you choose accordingly color, number, what you're circling. You circle, I think it is 4 at a time of these flowers. But what you're competing against is to fill out colored beds, to not circle flowers that don't match because you might get negative points. You're rushing to do things first because the earlier you do things, the more points you score, but you might want to delay because you don't want to paint yourself in a corner. So there's a lot of yin and yang in what you're doing, and the rules are so simple. Anyone can play it. It's colorful. It's inviting, small footprint, great solo, great multiplayer, total winner. Bloom, and the price point, man, I think at most $12, $15.
Yeah, that can't be too much. Yeah.
It'll get you right in there. Better than the original game and great at 2-player, King Domino Duel.
Oh.
Okay, have you ever heard of this before? So this one,
I've seen it, but I didn't realize it was a roll and write.
It's a roll and write.
What?
And yep. And let's see if I can get all my rules out here. Basically, what you're doing, beautiful. I can't even show you, but it has a really great insert there. Another one of those little magnet boxes. And you have this little pad of paper that's dual-sided. One is a territory you're trying to fill out. And the other side are powers that you can fill out. Okay. So you're competing against trying to get powers they can use before other people, and you're trying to fill out the territory. Very, very strategic, way deeper than King Domino, the original. You roll die, the die are going to have symbols. You're choosing what you're going to do with those die, but there's so many ways you can apply it that what presents itself as this affable, genteel roll and write game, King Domino, we all know, has so much more depth than you might think. Plays briskly. and always engaging. So that is King Domino Duel. Hopefully it's still made. It came out a few years ago.
Yeah, I'm seeing that. Somebody said that they've heard of it, but they have yet to find a copy. So I wonder if it's harder to find.
Well,
I
that's
did not know that. I did not know that it was a roll and write. Like I remember seeing the cover.
A total worthwhile experience, unlike King Domino, and a better game. Like I said before, the Castles of Burgundy, the roll and write. You know,
I want to try that one for sure.
Yeah. You're building your territories. You know, you have to go into an understanding. It's not going to be as robust as the big box, but what you sacrifice in depth, you pick up in quickness and that size. Still have those fun decisions. You know, it's kind of like saying, do I want, this 10, course meal, or do I want something quick that I can eat the side of the road? They can both be satisfying.
Mm-hmm.
So this is super satisfying. Mike, another one here. Michael likes to steal all my thunder.
Go to bed. Oh,
Hornet.
yeah.
Yeah. Brilliant.
I know. That was on my list because I love that game. So definitely definitely.
Absolutely brilliant. This one here, I deal with Daily Magic because they put my game out, but they actually have a roll and write that I'm really digging. I think it's in stores now, but it's a new one and it could be a new factor, but this one's called Dice Kingdoms of Valeria.
Ooh.
This one. Yeah. Now what I really enjoy about this one here is, so Micho is an artist and he did it for the art for the Valeria games.
Mm-hmm.
And he did it for, the Raiders of the North Sea and all those different ones. And Endless Winter, he did that for that one too.
Correct.
But this is one about building your territories. And again, I don't think it shows up as well on camera as it does in person, but these are actually really, really detailed little villages. There's water running through it. There's buildings, there's bridges. I enjoyed the experience here. It's a more gentle game, but it's one that plays solo or multiplayer. And there's a lot of fun ways to apply your decisions. The idea being there are going to be different types of citizens you can unlock. There are structures you can build. The more of the citizens you unlock, kind of like Michael was talking before about a game, or maybe it was you, someone mentioned where if you do something round one, it'll score in round two, it'll score in round three.
Mm-hmm.
This kind of idea that's occurring in here. And that is the element that I enjoy about it. But lastly, my favorite one, and I actually mentioned this as a predecessor to Hadrian's Wall. If you can get this copy, do it. It is Roll Through the Ages. Okay. Now this one in particular is the Iron Age. And this, when they sent this to me, I thought this was like, if you've ever been at a bar and they have like these little table games where you move like pegs and a, thing, whatever. I was like, did they just find this in the back of the warehouse? Like, why did they send me? It's like just black and white pieces of paper. There's like no art on this game at all. I was like, okay, I didn't even know it was coming. They sent it for a review on my channel. I'm like, what? Like, what? Was this a mistake? Was this meant for, this is what the game board, literally you're moving pegs, this little board.
Oh.
But what looks like just something under, grandpa's bed from 1955 is actually, it was a brand new game when it came out. And the decisions in it are amazing. Basically, you're rolling die and you're trying to unlock, kind of like Hadrian's Wall. You're trying to build up different aspects of your civilization. You're investing in defense in case bad things happen, safeguarding against pestilence. There are just so many attributes going on. There's even a shared board in the game where you're competing with other people for territories and stuff like this.
Oh.
Whoa. Deep and thrilling when what you've done pays off later in the game. And let me read off some of the things that you can do here on this beautifully designed piece of black and white paper.
It's appealing.
You can you invest in provinces and ports. You can build different structures that give you things, but you can also invest in medicine, shipbuilding, metallurgy. How about that? How many times have you seen that in a game? You can invest in religion to squash unrest in your citizens. You can build the navy, roads, civics, commerce, aqueducts to help bring the water around.
That's a lot of options already.
So satisfying. One of the best games I've ever played. Now, when did this come out? This is actually like the second in the line here. So this says it's from 2018. Gosh, that was already 5 years ago. But there was even versions before that, and I believe that Matt Leacock had a hand in this.
Okay.
Yeah, and Tom Lehman as well. But this is a masterpiece. If you love it, you can thank me, and if you don't like it, it was Katya who suggested it.
Okay, give me the name of it again.
Roll Through the Ages, and this one in particular is Iron Age. And it's by Eagle Griffin, so you can talk to your man and see if he has a copy.
Oh.
He can sell you a reviewer copy.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. My apologies to the reviewers, whoever that was meant to go to. But yeah.
Do you have any honorable mentions?
Those are some good suggestions. Okay, so I knew I wanted to talk about the one from Thundergriff, but I actually had Corinth as an overlap. Which I was going to mention, and then I ended up using up something else because that was a duplicate. And then you mentioned Three Sisters, which I have here as well. Hold on, let me grab this one here.
Okay.
It wouldn't be a show if we didn't get up in here. Every time, at some point, you reach and you grab something from the shelf. Okay, so this is one that Thundergriff sent me when they sent me game. Rolling Ranch? You ever played that? I love that game.
Oh, it's so cool.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I can actually open this one and then show people. First of all, again, the cover, isn't he just so cute?
Yeah.
Like the style of the drawing and the shit, it's adorable.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
and if I remember correctly, the word ranch shimmers.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like foil.
Mm-hmm.
Not just UV, it's like a foil. Yeah, it's okay. So in this game, you are rolling these cute little die here that have like pigs and roosters on them and cows and things.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so you're rolling that and you are playing on a sheet that has like farmland, and you're trying to basically place your animals in there so that your cluster or your enclosures will have, hopefully, all of the same animals because they score more that way.
Mm-hmm.
The beauty of this game is that if, for example, in an enclosure, you have two of the same animal, they will at some point reproduce.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yes. So when you get a die that has a heart like this,
mm-hmm.
and you decide to use that one, that's when your animals will reproduce. So you're trying to pair things so that, like throughout the beginning of the game, you're trying to like start your enclosure so that things are together so that they will reproduce, and then they each make a baby and stuff like that. So that is super fun. And then there's also buildings to build with the wood and nails, and those give you abilities.
And those dice really pit both decisions, because I think the mating one also provides the materials for the building, right?
Sometimes, yeah. Like this one here provides wood and also does the mating. So that's the thing, is you decide either you use the animal or you use the resources.
And those buildings are super important.
Yeah, but I do think the breeding applies regardless. So if you, for this turn, you use the resources, but you have some animals that are coupled, they will make an offspring. So I know. And the game is like, if it's in this teeny tiny box, you have private objectives also that you get dealt at the beginning of the game. So the replayability is real. And there's like a fair bit of these. This isn't just like, oh, here's 6 cards like it's a stack.
Yeah.
So
you're making me want to bust it out again.
It's a really fun game. The first time I played it, I was like, well, this is different. Like I haven't played anything like this before. Like the the pairing of the animals and trying to decide which enclosure you're going to put them in, because the cows are more rare, but then you like if you can fit 5 cows in one enclosure, then obviously the payout is going to be better. But yeah, it's super good. So that's definitely for me, that's an honorable mention.
Oh man, that was great. I'm so glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to find that.
Yeah. I think they still have it on their website. And then if not, like, I'm sure that when they do the Soda Pop collection that's supposed to come out, I think it's end of February, it's going on Backer Kit. But when that comes out, you can do stuff as add-ons, so you might be able to do that. But it's in their web store.
The solo mode for that came out after I think the original game was made, and it was super cool. Great design all around.
Is that the Hay expansion? There's something I like to do. No, that's not the one, because I played the Hay expansion. That adds a whole other level. I can't even explain it. I played it once on our live stream, and I was like, "Wait, what?" There was something to do with like, it added a level of almost like push your luck. Like you had to retain control of something for that to score. I don't remember, but. Yeah, there was like a whole other layer to it. And so I know they have that expansion, but I don't think I've ever played it solo. So I'd have to look into where the solo mode is or what it looks like. But yeah, that sounds fun because I like solo games. So
yeah, on. Good call.
But yeah, I'm so glad that you could join us for this episode of even if I've lost both of my co-hosts, it doesn't matter.
I drove them off.
Yeah. As soon as we decided that we were doing the top 5 roll-in rights, which is long overdue, you were the first person that came to my mind because I knew that you run that group. So I thought, who better to bring on than someone who runs a group about roll-in rights? I'm sure you play tons of them. And then you had your channel. So I thought, why not have you come in as a guest? So
it was an honor and a privilege. And you are just a delight. And this was the bomb. I would love to chat. I could talk all night. So easy talking to you. Thank you.
Well, I'm glad that you're a chatty person because like I had said to my co-host, when it's just me, that's nerve-wracking to me. So I am always happy to have somebody who is easy to talk to. So, but yeah, for those who don't know you, they can find you where? You
can find me Board Games and Bourbon. That's my channel. And that's probably my Twitter handle, Games and Bourbon, some version of that. And and I'm on Facebook saying hi to people. So if you go to the Roll and Write group or the Euro Game group or the Board Games and Bourbon group or Print and Play Gaming, that's all me.
Awesome. So, and you go by Rockford on Facebook though, yes?
Whole long story behind that. Yeah.
You don't have to explain depending on what the backstory is, but to make sure that if people want to make sure they recognize you.
It's Rockford. It actually started out as a band name and then it just became my personal one. Yeah. So.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we'll have like Chris said there in the comments, we'll have all of your links in the description so that if people want to go and check out your channel, then it's there. And then, yes, don't forget to like and subscribe our channel and then go and do the same over to Board Games and Bourbon. So, yeah, thanks again for joining us. And
my absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Well, it was our pleasure as well to have you. And we'll see you around on your channel and out on Facebook in the groups. And, thanks again for coming for the top 5.
My pleasure. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.